Chapter 3. The Lovers. Sienna was attending someone else in her office, and Rose didn't want to disturb her, so she left a note that she would be back soon with some snacks for them. Rose was the last patient as usual, and after a long day of work she was starving, and she knew her friend would want some food too. It took only 20 minutes for her to pass by the nearest subway and get their favorites and go back to the office to wait. She had the door pass key, so it was easier like that. The patient was still inside, so Rose sat in the reception alone and closed her eyes, concentrating in her heartbeat. It didn't take long for her to feel peaceful and relaxed, and with her mind empty and focused, she got her tarot deck from the purse and started to pull some cards. As she pulled, the images turned into sentences, and a whole story emerged from the back of her mind. It was interesting how this worked for her. One minute she would be wondering about things, and the next, Rose would simply know what she needed to know, and all the reasons why, everything in between, because she could simply download the information as if she was picking it up on radio waves. Sometimes it could be so intense that Rose couldn't recognize some concepts, and it took time to settle down all she got and what she just learned. Rose pulled the High Priestess and then the Two of Cups. That called her attention to her session about to come. Next, a Page of Wands and a Six of Cups, and that was her purpose there. Then while shuffling, some cards just jumped out of the deck and felt in her lap. The Moon, Three of Pentacles, the Lovers, the Magician, and the Four of Wands. Rose was staring at them, and the beginning of comprehension was born in her mind but didn't last, and before she could try to retrieve it, Sienna came out of her office speaking to her patient, a bald guy that left as fast as he could when he noticed Rose there. "Sorry for the delay, Rose. This patient wasn't scheduled, but he really needed attention today. You should read for me one day," Sienna said while pointing to her tarot deck. "Anytime. I brought us food. I thought you would want to have a snack before we start. I know I do," Rose said, putting away her cards and grabbing the subway bags. "Any news from your paranormal sources?" "I don't know about what is new, but the cards still want me to find out about my past. Especially the romantic part one, suppose," Rose said, thinking about all the cards of cups. "Okay, let's work on it. But first, food, please. Just don't tell Paul about the snacks. I asked him to help me to lose weight, and he is cooking super healthy for us lately, and I love him for that. I don't want to disappoint," Sienna said with her mouth full of teriyaki chicken. "Your secret is safe with me, and that being said, enjoy your favorite cookie for dessert." Rose and Sienna used to order the same food every time they went to any chain restaurants, so it was easy to know each other's taste. They ate quickly, and Sienna prepared the room for her session. It was still daylight, and they needed to shut the curtains and light the warm bulb to make a comfortable environment for the hypnosis. Sienna increased the temperature of the room too, and lit a lavender candle, because Rose likes the scent. They started the session as usual with some basic relaxation breathing, and Rose was feeling prepared. "Okay, Rose, now I want you to see yourself in a garden with your feet planted in the grass. Feel your roots moving underground," Sienna said, giving Rose some time to execute it. Rose was heavily breathing, but her expression was peaceful. "Now notice that your roots could find some water. It feels cold, but fresh, and your roots settle in this underground pool." Rose sank a little deeper into the chair, so Sienna turned on the recorder and started the process. "Now that you are grounded, let your roots extend, flexible and comfortably, as you walk in the garden." "Can you see the lake, Rose?" Sienna asked. "Yes." "Then walk towards the lake. Feel the grass under your feet and how moist it turns close to the margin." Sienna continued and watched Rose motionless and still breathing heavily and slow. "Now, look at the water. Can you see yourself in the surface?" "Yes." "Can you see something or someone else in it?" "Yes," Rose said, slightly moving her eyebrows. "Then dive in." Rose was giving birth. She couldn't feel any pain, just joy. It was a boy she had just found out, and she shouted for her husband so he could see their child. A man got into the room and ran to her as Rose was showing him their baby. It wasn't Alex. Rose felt so much love for her baby boy that she felt like she had never been so happy in her entire life, and that joy was warm, peaceful, and fulfilling. The man, her husband, was good for her, and she had respect, admiration, and affection for him. She knew he was a good husband, and Rose was sure he was going to be a good father too. That was the happiest memory Rose's soul had, she felt that. Being a mother was incredible. Rose didn't know because she didn't have any children yet, but that memory brought to her everything, all the emotions at once. She smiled and cried, and from far she heard a voice, someone she knows, calling her name, Sienna. So Rose remembered where she was and started describing everything she was seeing. It was a large room with some beautiful tapestry and many women, servants, to assist her. By their clothes, Rose believed it was during the Renaissance period. Her husband was blonde with blue eyes and a sweet face. He looked inoffensive, pure, and honest to her. Rose felt safe with him. They were happy with their baby. He was especially happy because they had a boy, and Rose was so proud. She was feeling overwhelmed by love, and when she looked at her baby boy's face, she thought, I hope he looks like his father, and loved him even more. But she wasn't thinking about her husband. Rose's heart missed a beat and her breathing got faster. Rose, you are okay. Nothing bad will happen to you. You are safe, Sienna said, reassuring Rose immediately. She allowed Rose to take a moment to calm down to continue the session. Can you see your baby, Rose? Yes. Can you remember when you got pregnant? Yes. How was it? Sienna asked. Rose saw herself in the woods. She was traveling from her summer house back to her husband's main property in the court, and she was being escorted by a knight. He was a tall and strong ginger man. He had a serious expression and the somewhat rough manners of a fighter, but even being odd, he was irresistible to her. And there he was, Alex, and she loved him so much that Rose couldn't resist. Her ladyship obligations told her to stop, but Rose didn't want to. It was perhaps the only opportunity she would have, and she took it. A providential thunderstorm delayed their trip by one night, and that was enough. Whoa. When she got home, Rose seduced her husband to be sure that, if there were any babies, he would never suspect that it wasn't his. And deep down, she hoped the baby wasn't really his. In the end, Rose didn't know. She didn't know who the real father of her baby boy was. But she was dazzling in love, beauty, and joy at the birth of her child. Philip, that's his name, Rose said. Who, Rose? My son, my baby boy. Rose was crying happiness tears. She went back to that precious memory, the baby in her arms, and it didn't matter. The man in the room wasn't Alex. It didn't matter anyone else besides herself and her son. She absorbed that memory like a thirsty pilgrim and all its details, and photographed that moment in her mind and heart so that she would never forget it. Is there anything else you can see? Sienna asked from outside. I don't know, Rose said. So she allowed the images to fade in her mind so she could see anything else. She felt like she was floating in the water of the lake and let Sienna know. Okay. Is there anything you want to see? Sienna asked her. Alex, where is he? Rose said. And she felt her body sink again to the bottom of the dark water. The images weren't clear, but Rose could feel dry leaves under her feet. Tell me, what can you see? Rose heard Sienna's voice asking from far away. Rose was in the woods. It was autumn, and it was sunset. There was a knight coming from the road towards this cottage, a pretty cabin that looked like something Rose had dreamed of before. She ran down the hill towards the messenger, and she saw a man coming out of the cabin. It was Alex. He was looking tired and old. His hair was almost all gray, and his face had some wrinkles, but he was still so handsome and irresistible as before. Rose touched his face with affection, but he didn't seem to notice. She saw a woman, young and blonde, very skinny, with an ordinary face, not pretty or ugly, just simple and common as you could find anywhere around, coming out of the cabin after him. The messenger had a hard tone of voice and a letter in his hand. He was wearing black and looked angry. He silently gave the paper to Alex, that read a couple times before staring at the messenger with wide-open eyes. "How?" Alex asked, with a hoarse and choked voice. "She fell from the cliff. They say it was an accident." "And it was?" "Only Milady knows," the messenger said, turning his horse around and leaving from the path he came. Everything became blurry and confusing after that. She could see that he was angry, but there was sadness and despair in his eyes, his voice. She couldn't understand what he was saying, only the pain in his tone, his expression. He was breaking everything in the house. The girl was scared, but he wasn't going to do anything with her. He just didn't want her there. And she left, after a while. Rose wanted to do something for him, hug him, and tell everything was going to be okay. She tried, but he couldn't hear her, and she watched him there in a fast motion, wasting away little by little as time passed, and he didn't realize it. 15 years he lived after her death, and Rose was floating back in the lake. Sienna believed it was enough for the day, or could be too overwhelming for Rose, so she called her back, swimming to the margin, and then back to her office in downtown. Rose opened her eyes, and the lights were hurting a little bit. She straightened her spine, which was sore from staying in the same position for too long, and took a large sip of her water bottle. "How are you feeling?" Sienna asked. "I am feeling fine. Not just fine, calm. I think it feels peaceful when the pieces of the puzzle start to fit into their places," Rose said, smiling. "That's good, Rose. I am honestly impressed with everything you described. I thought we weren't going to achieve much with this, but seems to be flowing for you so well. I wonder if it could help other patients too," Sienna commented, but without any further intentions of attempting it. That was exclusive for her best friend, because she really wanted to. "Do you think he remembers?" Rose asked. "Who?" "Alex. Do you think he remembers any of this? Or he could ever remember? Or even believe if I tell him?" Rose asked, with an anguished voice. "Oh, Rose, I don't know. But don't focus on him, but on you and your healing. We don't know anything about Alex for a very long time, honey. Allow yourself to heal first," Sienna said compassionately. "Okay," Rose whispered. So she remembered her baby Philip, and before the melancholy took over again, she was feeling joy and peace. Philip was going to be her anchor from now on, to calm her mind and heart.